Hello, I'm Donna Devine, station owner here at the Awakened Radio Network and editor of Thrive Evolutionary Consciousness magazine. And I'm coming to you today to let you know that when you support our station, either by hosting your own live talk radio show, tuning in and listening, sharing my links with your friends through your social networks, when you shop our store, the Awakened store at awakenedradio.net, when you click on one of our donate buttons and donate to help us grow and sustain what we're doing here, when you sponsor a show or advertise with us, you are being part of change. See, we talk a lot about change in the spiritual community. Well, Awakened Radio is not just talking about it. We are real people making real changes, influencing people in real ways globally, all around the world. People are listening. They're hearing what we say. We at Awakened Radio know that you've got questions about what's going on, what's happening, how did it get this way? Well, we may not have all the answers, but at awakenedradio.net we've got quite a few of them. And I encourage you and invite you to be an influencer, to work with the Awakened Radio Network family by supporting what we are doing. When you support Awakened Radio, you are supporting truth, change, real energy that's making a difference in real people's real lives. Thank you so much for visiting and being part of awakenedradio.net. Visit our website today and be a part of changing the world. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Lillerose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Welcome everyone. Welcome my friends. Welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio. This is your host, Pernilla Lillerose. And this is indeed the place where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. The question is, of course, what is authentic feminine power? What is it for you? What is it for me? And how does that make a difference in the world? Not just in the world, how does it make a difference in your own life, in your own body, in your own being? I want to talk some more about that today, how important it is that we keep stepping deeper and deeper into our true, authentic feminine power. And, you know, of course, if you're a man and you're listening in, it's exactly the same. Stepping in your true, authentic, masculine power. It's not a gender thing, and I think you know that by now if you've listened in before. It's not a gender thing, but it is an authenticity of being in your true essence and being, and how that expresses itself in the world, in your life, if you let it, if you allow it. And that's something we're all learning. I'm learning every day. I am not an expert at it, but I am getting better and better and better at it every single day, because collectively we have been living cut off from our own true power, and collectively we are slowly, some more slowly, some fast, but it's a process. We need to honor the natural timing of the evolution. But we are stepping more and more into that authentic energy that we are, instead of getting in the way of it. It's very, very important. It's a very, very powerful subject. We'll talk some more about that today. And before we do, I just want to invite you to connect with me here on the radio. You're welcome to chat in by just going to the chat room, and you can always just say hello if that's all you want. And you can say more than hello if you have something to share. And if you really would like to speak to, you can just call in. That number is 334-649-7204. I'd love to connect with you later once I've been sharing a little bit. If there's anything you have a question about, or an insight, your own experience with it, it's really beautiful to share that with the other listeners. You know, it brings it more alive, that it's not just me saying it all. It's nice to hear everybody else's authentic power speaking, even if it's a question. You know, it's coming from a place that wants to know how to step deeper into your power. So you're more than welcome. If you want to know a little more about me, what I do besides doing the radio show, you're always welcome to go to my website, which is lillarose.com, spelled LILLAROSE.com. And here you can find different things that I offer to the world, my clients, anybody who's interested in exploring it. Please go to my website. I am also the author of the book called Imagine Being Kind to Yourself, and I have a few smaller books also. One is called Why Did This Happen to Me? And another small one called Allow Yourself to Be You, and then one called Women Standing for Love. Feel free to browse around and learn about it, because those books are actually very, very helpful in our process of stepping into our true, authentic power. And you can find that on my website under the Products and Services tab. So please check it out now or after the show. I'd love to hear from you. Today, the subject today is called It's All About Waking Up. And I usually send out an e-letter or an e-zine every week, sometimes every other week, it depends. And usually it's all connected to what I want to talk about on my radio show, because something comes up in me. Something about this authentic power reveals something in me about myself, about the world, about general things, about personal things. It can be anything, but usually when it comes through like that, there's like this aha, there's an energy that comes with it, an aliveness, an inspiration, something that really can be transforming and is transforming for myself and hopefully also for others. You know, when we get these inspirations from our essence, from our core, it's not a personal thing. It's for all of us. And the more brave we feel, the more we are inclined to share it with others. So I have a wonderful platform here at Evolutionary Women Radio where I can just share my little gems with you, and hopefully there will be some nourishment that will help you to step deeper and deeper into yourself. So when I say it's all about waking up, what I wrote is, in my e-zine, I wrote, if you're going through a tough time, remember, it's all about waking up. If you are in a challenging relationship, don't forget, it's about waking up to how you let yourself be treated and how you treat others. And it actually reminds me of something that I realized many years ago. When I was in a relationship, I realized that the way I am being treated in this relationship is exactly how I treat myself. And it was such an insight, and this was really in my younger days, it was such an insight. It's like, wow, this is how I treat myself inside. And it all, when we have a message for the world, it kind of starts sometimes it starts when we're younger, when we start seeing things that start making sense. And that's why the book Imagine Being Kind to Yourself is really an expression of what I came here for, and the message that's helped me and is helping many other people to really come into full balance and full empowerment inside from a place of love and truth and integrity. And if we use the reflection of our life to see how we are doing this to ourselves, can be very, very powerful. I also wrote, if you are having health issues, be aware. It is about waking up to how you feed yourself, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. And if you feel stuck in emotional pain, be gentle with yourself. It's about waking up to how you treat yourself and making sure that no part of you is left behind. In my surrounding here, in my community, there's a lot of people who are waking up to who they are. And if you're listening in here to Awakened Radio, I'm assuming that it's not something that's totally unfamiliar to you, whether you've had the experience already, or if you've had a taste of it, or if you just have a curiosity about it. It doesn't really matter. If there's something that brings you here to this specific station that's called Awakened Radio. And this is not for everyone. Not everybody is interested in waking up. And I know it may mean different things to different people depending on what stage, what developmental or evolutionary stage we are in our unfolding. But if you are here and listening to me, there's a good chance that awakening is something that at least you have a curiosity about and possibly have experienced and are now in a process of embodying it and bringing it into every part of your life, every part of your expression. And that to me is really where the work is at, if we can call it work. It's like, is it really work? Well, in a way it is, because we are resisting flowing along with the evolutionary energy that is here, that is coming in. And this evolutionary energy is always here, because evolution can never stop. It can never not happen. If you look at a tree, there's always an ongoing evolution. It grows, it gets trees, more flowers, leaves. There's always an expression that just keeps developing and evolving. And it's the same with us. We are in a place of evolution in this dimension. So I'm not somebody who likes to do the spiritual bypass, and I know I've said that so many times before. It's just not my path. I know for some people that seems to be their path. If that's your path, this radio show may not be for you. But I'm all about embodiment. And if you start realizing that the evolution that is naturally happening in our dimension here, called the human existence, if you really get that it is a good thing, it's not, we're not going into the darkness, we're moving from darkness into more and more light. We have lived in many ages where there's been a lot of darkness in our psyche, in our beliefs, in our perception, how we see the world. That is shifting. More light is coming in. We're becoming aware, more conscious of things. And that's why we can start, maybe we can at least start trusting that the evolutionary process that we're all in is for the good. It's beneficial. It's beneficial for evolution itself that it's moving to a more bright, more light, more evolved, more loving way of being. And we are not part of that. We are that. You see, there's not an evolution happening outside of us that we can either be part of or not. We are that wave, that expression of evolution that is expanding and growing, evolving, becoming more beautiful, more loving, more easy, more enjoyable. And the more we realize this inside, that it is actually for the good what is happening, I'm hoping that will help all of us, and I do include myself in this, guys. I'm not beyond this, but I have a lot of clear vision and clarity and a lot of insight as it's happening, and that's why I can share it. But I am experiencing all of it just like you are. I think that maybe the difference is that I have stopped resisting what is, and that makes life a lot easier. So this evolutionary process that's moving through us, as us, I say through us, but it really is as us, because there is not two. We are that evolutionary process that is evolving and expanding into something more beautiful or more loving, more light, out of the darkness, out of the grayness, into more and more light. You just add a little more light to it as it dawns. It's like a dawning of evolution. And then we suddenly can see something we couldn't see before. And every time we have more light, we see more, that gives us choice. That gives us the choice to do it differently. Instead of doing it the old way, now we can choose to do it the new way, the way the new energy is evolving, you see. So it's just a matter of going along with the light as it expands, as it shines on more and more of itself without the darkness. We just follow along with that. We move along with that. And how does that look? How do we do that? We're used to resisting it. We're used to going against it. We're actually used to believing that bad things are happening when things don't look so bright. And that's why I'm talking about these little questions that I started out with. If you're going through a tough time, if you're in a challenging relationship, if you have health issues, if you can start changing the way you see it, your perception of it, that those are not bad things. They are simply the new energy moving through the old, or the light coming into the darkness, so that we can see where we are living in darkness. If you can imagine yourself as a flower, actually you are a flower, but you may not know that. You're a flower of life. I'm a flower of life. And this flower is coming into full bloom. That's what life does. That's what flowers do. Flower is not separate from life. Flower is not separate from evolution. If you watch a flower, you can see that it grows, it gets petals, it starts opening up, and at some point it goes into full bloom. That's what's happening to us. And again, if you think about yourself as a flower and you run into some of the outer leaves, let's say you are a rose, and you start out as a bud, right? And if that energy, that evolutionary energy of a rose is not allowed to move through into full bloom, then it will remain as a bud. So if this energy starts moving out, and you in your own life, if you can bring it back to yourself, if you run into resistance because the outer buds are very tight, then you may think there's something wrong with you, and God doesn't love you, God doesn't give you the full sunshine because it's closed. And so there can be a negative expectation to these outer petals, that they are here and they're against you, and it's a miserable life. All these things is what we all have done in the past, and most of us still have plenty of that left in our psyche and in our DNA, to expect that it's all going to be miserable, and it's because you've been bad, it's because you're not lovable. All these beliefs that we have about ourselves, and how we actually hold this energy back, this energy that we are. Again, it's not a separate energy doing something to us. It is your own energy, it's your own being that is simply opening up into full bloom. So if you can really wrap yourself around the fact that it is a good thing, it's because you're coming into full bloom in this expression, in this moment, in this experience, and we don't know what the next will be, but can we keep allowing that energy to come through all the way, right? If you resist moving through a petal, the outer petals, the ones, let's say a rose, right? The outer petals, they're not called petals, that's the bud, the green ones on the outside, and I apologize not having the right word right now, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Those are there for a very good reason. They are there to protect the flower inside that is evolving, that is about to take birth. It's the same as the womb, before we take birth. There is a place where that is necessary. It's part of evolution. It protects us, protects the flower, until the energy gets bigger and bigger, whether you're an infant in the womb or a flower in the bud. The energy keeps moving and expanding, and because of that, you need to move out of the womb, out of the protective outer bud petals. You need to move through that so you can come into full expression. That's where we normally start believing that something is wrong, and that's why we resist it. We talked about this thing about being wrong or thinking we're wrong a few times ago here, and that belief really holds us back from fully coming into full bloom. So if we can start accepting the fact that what is happening in our life right now, this absolute very moment, is good. You may not experience it as good. That's a different thing, right? That's a different thing. But if you can just start accepting the fact that what is happening is good, it's for your benefit, it's because evolution in and as you is simply expanding into something bigger, more beautiful, better, if we can use those words, because it's kind of a comparative thing, better is as if compared to worse. But let's use more light. Then it's not, it's just more light is coming in. And that is so you can experience more light in your life, more lightness, brightness, see more of what is actually here, of the light, instead of being focused on what is dark, right? It's like turning up the dimmer. And if we resist, if we're at a certain low phase of the dimmer where it's pretty dark, and then if we think, oh my God, nobody loves me, life is terrible, and blah blah blah, then we are resisting the dimmer from naturally moving forward or up and bringing in more light. It's going to happen anyway, It may just be easier when we start resisting, and the resistance is often the belief that we carry around, thinking there's something wrong, and then we resist it, and it's the resistance that gives us pain, makes us feel bad, makes us suffer. So let's really see if we can open up and be willing to consider a new way. Be willing to consider the possibility that evolution is quote unquote on our side. And we're not being left behind. We're not alone in this. We're part of a beautiful new energy coming in, which is more light into the darkness. So let's take a breath and maybe just accept the possibility that whatever situation you are in right now is for the good, is for you to see what petal you are holding on to, trying to keep closed, holding tight by resisting its opening up. So when you can see what it is for you, then you are actually seeing that it's light coming in. So that it doesn't have to be, a day, a year, a month, a year, 10 years later where you go, oh, now I can see whatever I went through back then was such a blessing. But I couldn't see it back then because I was resisting, and I was simply too identified with the old paradigm, with the darkness, where I thought everything was bad. So I didn't know anything else but resisting it. That's all I knew back then. But now looking back, I can see that because I went through that, I'm a totally different being today. Much happier, much more open, much more loving, much more at peace, at one with myself. And that's the movement that's happening. So we can make it easier on ourselves. Evolution is going to happen either way, but we can make it easier by ourselves by starting realizing that this evolutionary process is, I'm going to say, on your side. Of course, that doesn't exist, but for a mind that believes that evolution is against you, it's a very nice middle step to start thinking, oh, maybe it's all good. And then you can start dropping the resistance a little more. So here we're talking about, it's all about waking up. And I see we're getting close to the break. And I'm going to talk some more about it, of course, afterwards. And in the meantime, you're always welcome to check out my website, which is LillaRose.com, LillaRose. And you can browse around. You can also sign up for a free discovery session with me. That's a 30-minute exploration session. And what we'll do is just explore what petals you are resisting from opening up and what it is inside of those petals that wants to take birth in and as you. So it's a little exploration process. And, we can all use a little help. I certainly get help whenever I need it because I know that's helpful for me. So my friends, we are just about to go on a break here. So we'll be back in a short while and we'll continue this conversation.
Welcome to Awakening Radio Network. We cover the airwaves and cover the world with messages that inspire, inform, and motivate you, the listeners. I invite you to visit our website at awakenedradio.net and check out the Awakened store, where you will find stones and crystals, healing kits, smudge kits, Native American style dream catchers, gemstone jewelry, hair feathers, books, tools that will help you bring about the changes in your life that you are desiring to experience. Visit us at awakenedradio.net /Awaken Store. Be sure and read all the information on the store page, because we're prone to having a lot of different kinds of sales. Every month there's something new to say thank you for supporting the Awakened Radio Network. The Awakened Radio store at awakenedradio.net is your one-stop shopping center for your metaphysical needs. Thank you so much for taking part and supporting the Awakened Radio Network. All the hosts really do appreciate you being part of creating this wonderful foundation for change that is reaching the world. Thank you. Peace.
Welcome back to Evolutionary Women Radio, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Thank you for joining and listening. This is your host, Pernilla Little-Rose, and this show is brought to you by Women Standing for Love. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to Evolutionary Women Radio Show. And yes, this is brought to you by Women Standing for Love. It's a movement that I started back in February, I think, because you know, when we get into our authentic feminine power, what happens is that there is something in us that wants to bring this to the world. And since we are love, I've talked a lot about this in the past, we are love. We need to realize that we are that love and that we can make a difference in the world. So right now it's on hold, Women Standing for Love. I actually started realizing that a lot of women still need to learn how to stand for love in their own life first. So for a lot of it, it was a little premature to step out into the world, and that's really important to know when you're ready for that. You know, you don't have to be perfect by any means, but you have to have enough resilience and strength in yourself in knowing what is true and what's not true for you before you can bring something to the world. Otherwise, we just bring our woundings and insecurities and trying to overcome them by doing something good in the world. So we're coming from a place of contraction instead of coming from a place of expansion, where the love that we are naturally guides our steps and our moves, and then we actually bring to the world something that is valuable, because we bring our beingness, not our doingness, but our beingness. And that's what's needed. It's the beingness, our being, that knows exactly what to do. Even if it's just being, the world, your surroundings will naturally be affected by it. You don't have to do a thing. And you may do a lot. It's not like one or the other. You'll know. You'll know the more you get in touch with that. And of course, that's what we're talking about today. And what I want to talk a little more about this whole thing about imagining yourself to be a flower, or realizing that you are a flower of life. And if you are resisting any part or any stage of the flower's development or evolution, then you won't blossom. You see, it's like this energy, there's an energy pushing from inside that wants to blossom into something else, something bigger, something more light. And if we resist that, we kind of start withering, right? We're resisting an energy that naturally is happening for all of us. So if we resist it, we wither. We literally wither. And it's us who are creating this withering process. And that's what I really wanted to talk some more about today. What I would call this withering process, because we are resisting our true unfolding. I would call that the autoimmune response. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today also, because I have been talking to so many of my friends, and I am blown away how many are experiencing some kind of autoimmune response in their bodies. For some, it may be more severe. For some, it's just, the beginning stages, or just an awareness that your body is going against itself. And there can be many, many reasons. And before I even go further, I want to just make sure, it's like a disclaimer, I guess. I am not an expert on health or diet. I'm not trained as a doctor or anything like that. So I'm not an expert, and I'm not an expert on awakening, on food, nutrition. But you know what? I am and am becoming an expert on my own body and my own being and my own experimenting and learning about myself. What works, what doesn't work. So all you'll ever hear from me is my own experience. If it sounds like I'm an expert in certain areas, I'm simply sharing my own experience, and in that, I feel I'm an expert in my own life because I know that it works for me. I know there is a betterment happening. There is an expansion happening, that I know in my core that this is good and right. Not as in wrong and bad, but more like you just know that something is right because your body, your being knows. It's something relaxes in you, and you just know. We can't always put words to how we know, but most people, when they know, we just say, yeah, I just know. I can feel it in my whole body. Bingo. And that's enough for me these days. That is where I have landed for now, to really trust that knowing in my body. So in that sense, I'm becoming more and more an expert of pranila, and how pranila unfolds, evolves, and expresses in the world. And that's what I want to invite each of you, each of the listeners, all of us, to become an expert in what our truth is and what works for us, right? So for me to eat certain things may be not the right thing for you, because I have found out this works for me, and you found out, well, I can't eat those things, but I can eat that, because then I can feel my body relaxes, a lot of symptoms start slowing down or disappearing, and something changes in me, and I feel better. I feel more alive, more alert, more energy, more happy, things like that. So that's why becoming an expert in our own life and our own being, that's what it's all about. So here I'm going to talk about the autoimmune response. And it's simply from my own experience and the insights that I get by really being curious and open and learning about it. So let's go back to this little flower here that is pushing through, wanting to come into full bloom, and then we're resisting it. Right there. That is where we go against our own energy, our own unfolding, my own evolution, my own best interest. To me, in myself, I can see that's where certain symptoms in my body are coming from. Now, it may look like it's coming from eating certain foods, and I do believe that a lot of the food we eat today have, a lot of it has been polluted. We may have eaten things in the past that have caused things in the body that are manifesting now. And I certainly know for myself, I've been eating sugar all my life. I stopped about 1.5 years ago, and it's been wonderful. I stopped eating wheat because there's so much evidence out there that wheat is just not good for you. It's something they changed in the wheat that it has become quite debilitating for a lot of people. And the gluten and also many things. So for some people, when you become aware of that, it's good to just experiment and see what happens if you don't eat, let's say, wheat or sugar for a while, and just see what happens. You use your body as your own laboratory to find out what happens. Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Do I lose weight? Do I get more energy? Whatever it is. So that is part of what a lot of people that I know whom I consider eating very healthy, conscious, very aware of what they put in their mouth. And here I'm just realizing that so many of us actually have issues going on in the body that we would never even have expected. And I'm not talking about anything serious in my own case, but at least it's serious enough that I need to be aware that if I continue whatever it is, it's going to go downhill with my body. And I don't want that. I want to follow the new energy of expansion and start shedding the old energies that I have been taking in through food, diet, emotional, mental, all the things we have been feeding ourselves with, and how it all is connected. So here we are, eating healthy and yet finding things that are not good in the body. What do? I've been trying a number of things over the years, and I stopped the sugar. Now I'm just trying out new things. I'm trying certain diets that really eliminate a lot of things from what I can eat. So I'm very limited in one way of what I can eat. And I'm almost 3 weeks into it now, and I can tell you the first 5 days or so were really, really challenging. I had to completely change what I was used to eating. And in the process, again, I became aware, how much emotional charge there is in eating. Even things that are good, not just sugar or wheat or the comfort foods. But I just started realizing that this part that feels deprived and is holding back, I just started seeing the connection between food, physical food, nutritional food, and emotional food. How we feed ourselves in order to avoid meeting certain places in ourselves where we are holding back, where we are holding our beautiful evolutionary energy back that we are. We are blocking the expression of who we are, and it makes us sick. Now, does that mean that we need to be upset with the world, with all the pesticides? I could probably mention a lot of companies that are almost consciously doing these things out there. But is that going to be helpful if I blame it on them? Probably not. That will just add more resistance in me because I'm trying to get rid of something out in the world by anger or blame or anything like that. And that in itself is contractive energy also. So instead of blaming others and finding faults, I will certainly be aware of it. I am aware not to eat sugar, not to eat wheat, not to eat GMO foods, all that. I'm very aware to mostly eat my own food because I grow most of my own food. Here in the winter, I do need to go to the health food store and farmer's market to buy some good healthy vegetables that I'm not able to grow here myself at this time of the year. But I'm very conscious of what I do want to eat because I love my body and I want to give it the best nourishment, nutritional nourishment that I can. So in that sense, it's really important to educate ourselves in what it is that we eat, what it does for us. And then from that place, you can start finding out, well, when I eat this, what happens in my body? Do I feel better? Do I feel energetic, or do I feel tired? Do I get a stomach ache? Does it affect me in a good or a bad way? And I remember I was overhearing a conversation a while ago by this woman who was talking to this naturopathic doctor, and she said, yeah, you know what? I drink a couple of cups of coffee every day. And she says, I know it's not good for me because it makes me feel terrible, but I love it. Now, how many of us can relate to that? hello. Because I used to say that about the sugar. It's like, no, I know it's not good for me, but I just want it, right? Because there was an addiction. There was a sugar addiction, chocolate addiction. So getting over that hump was a little challenging. But if I really wanted to be loving to myself and listen to what my body is saying, then I knew already then that it wasn't good for me to eat certain foods or to drink certain drinks. And I think it's very much what we all do. We know something is not good for us, and we do it anyway. So what kind of food are you feeding yourself when you do that? What part is being fed? Well, let's say you drink coffee and you know it's not good for you. Now, coffee can be good for many people. I'm not saying coffee is bad for everyone. I'm not saying that at all. But if you're one of those who drinks coffee or eats wheat or whatever, and afterwards you feel bad, you don't feel good, you lose your energy, you get tired, whatever it is, what is it in you that does it anyway? What part are you feeding something that is not good for you? This is a very, very powerful question, and I know that you will bump up against the rebel, the resistance, something that feels comforted by eating that food or drinking that food. Those are the parts, right, where we are resisting, allowing something new to come in because we're holding on to the old, probably covering over some pain, some wounding, some fear, some beliefs, whatever it is. So food has been an amazing teacher for me to see where I have been holding back my energy. And what I realized is when I really looked at this, because when I thought, well, if I have a tendency to an autoimmune response in my body, I want to know where I am either attacking myself, judging myself, holding myself back. I want to know how I do that. How do I create an autoimmune response where I am attacking myself? How do I do that if I don't blame it on the food? Those are very, very powerful questions, and you can write them down if you want and just explore that in your own experience. And as you know, since I'm the author of the book Imagine Being Kind to Yourself, and I wrote that a number of years ago, I really took that in. I took that seriously, and I made that my path. As I was writing it, I could see where I was not being kind to myself. And I have learned I never put myself down. I never judge myself or criticize myself. I'm willing to learn. If something happens, I'm willing to learn from it and do better. But I just do not put myself down anymore. It was just too painful. So I knew it wasn't in that area. I was not beating myself up as so many of us either have done or still do. You see, that's an autoimmune response right there, right? You're beating yourself up. That's autoimmune response. And how do you think your body is going to mirror that back to you so you can see, what am I doing to myself? Those are the parts when I talk about that it's actually, it can be so empowering to realize where we either resist or suppress or judge ourselves. You see that it can be empowering when you see that. Suddenly you're not a victim of yourself anymore, because we are victims of ourselves. There is nobody else that we are a victim of. I know there are situations where maybe we are kept in a situation physically where we can't do anything about it. So in that sense, you could take on that belief. But we need to go in no matter what and find a place inside of ourselves where we are where we feel empowered, even in a situation that may seem disempowering, we still need to see what is it in us that is reflected back in that situation. So start looking at how are you holding yourself back. And what I found, so here I'm saying I'm kind to myself, I'm not beating myself up. So where is it in me that I am attacking myself? And what I found is that I am not fully letting out my power. Even though I'm doing so many things where I really feel I'm just living my life in a powerful way, I started realizing that there is a part of me that is still holding back, being afraid of being rejected. Very, very old pattern in me, because, the way I grew up, I always felt rejected by my father. It was just like 24/7. There was nothing but rejection in the way he expressed itself. I'm not saying he didn't love me. I know he did, but I certainly couldn't feel it. So that was something I took in from very, very young. That came in with a mother's milk almost. So that's in my cells. And even though I've done a lot of clearing and cleaning, I could see there's still some left, or there's something holding back. Instead of fully stepping out and sharing the work that I do, and if I'm being rejected, then so be it. Why should I stop my flower to coming into full bloom? Because there might be somebody else out there who doesn't like what my flower looks like. Why would I hold my flower back and start in an autoimmune response inside of me that makes me sick? You see, when you really look at it deeply and see how you do it, there's such an opportunity for growth that is just incredible. And then I can just share that what I've been doing in this process, if I can just make it about me for a moment, I'm going to change my whole website because I realized I have not fully expressed what I do. I always talk about, I teach people how to listen to themselves, how to trust themselves, and how to love themselves. And yes, that is exactly what I do. But there's a lot more. And what I do is I help my clients cut through to clarity. I help you cut through those layers and petals of resistance that you are not even aware are there. And because you're not aware of them, you keep cycling around. You may take, a supplement here or something, a session here or there to help soften the pain about the petal that's being resisted. But it's not enough. It's like when I work with my clients, I just penetrate all that, and I do it with love and ease and safety. It's not like I get my sword out and just chop you up. That's not my way. It's just not who I am. But I'm more than just being this gentle soul who can help you do it. I have a sword that is so sharp, but it's laced with love. It's laced with light and beauty and laughter. We laugh a lot when we work with my clients. And so now I'm going to start owning the fact that I cut through to clarity. And it's been so amazing to fully own that. And I've had help. I've had a lot of help from people really helped me see it, because I couldn't fully see it myself. It was just something I do, and I didn't know how to put words to it. I didn't know how to share it. So I've had help to find the words for that, and it's been so powerful. So even though I help my clients cut through to clarity, I needed somebody else to help me cut through to my own clarity. See, my friends, we can't always see where we are resisting ourselves. All we can see is the impact of it, and that doesn't always feel good. So if you are moved to cut through your layers of resistance, I invite you to contact me and get a discovery session so we can find out what it is and find out if you want to really do this work to get through all the way. Because I want all of us to be free. I want us to be full expressions of this new energy that's coming in, that we've been resisting, that we've been holding back, that we've been afraid of, because it doesn't fit the old shell, the old packaging, the old petals on the outside. They had a purpose. They were here to protect you, and they were here to get you to where you are now. The next step is to come into full bloom, and the old petals have to come off. You have to move beyond them. And if you're in a situation where you're unhappy, if you're in a situation, in a relationship where you don't feel treated the way you want to be treated, and I might also say where you may not be treating the other person the way you want to treat the other person, because they usually come together in some kind of a funny way. If you find yourself in any situation that is restrictive, makes you unhappy, makes you suffer, it's a good thing. You're up against a petal that needs to change, you need to break through. So the situation you're in is the petal showing you where you're holding back your full power, your full energy, your full expression. And it's time to penetrate it, to cut through into the clarity that is lying right behind the situation you're in. And that's when you start listening to this energy. What really wants to happen? What is ready to break through if you let it? So that's quite a mouthful today, isn't it? It feels very, very powerful to me what we're talking about. Deeply transforming and cutting through to clarity is what it's about. I think it's enough. We've floundered around enough in the darkness and resistance and trying to change. So if you feel ready, this could be your time to really make that shift. All right. So if you want to, there is a forum here on the station, and it's easy just to click on the forum link. And you can leave your feedback here. I would love to hear from you. You can just go to the forum, find Evolutionary Women Radio, and you can just put some comments in there. I would love to hear from you. You can also go to my website, lilarose.com, and connect with me there. You can also go to my website, to my Facebook page. Go to Women Standing for Love on Facebook and share yourself. This is a place where we can start connecting as women and support each other to live this truth. I really hope to hear from you. And, last time I said I'm going to have a few more times left here on the Awakened on Evolutionary Women Radio. And there's going to be definitely a few more times. And I really don't know what's going to unfold because I'm following the movement inside. And it looks like I might continue for a little longer than a month, but I don't know yet. I'm just speaking what I know. And the guest that I'm still waiting to hear back from, Sarah, I hope to hear from her this week so we can set up a time to get her on the station as my guest. So read more about all of this. Go to my website. Go to evolutionarywomenradio.com. And I will write there who's my guest, who's on next, and when I'm on and what I talk about. Wonderful, wonderful to be with you here today. And I'll be back next week. And I don't know if it's going to be me or with a guest, but I sure look forward to being here with all of you again. And do contact me, do connect, and let me know how you're doing. Sending you many, many blessings and much love today. Bye-bye.
Catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're awakened. You won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join our love.